I'm going to go ahead and start off the bat here. I know you've been pretty critical of Speaker Phelan in recent weeks, in the recent week, especially regarding the last couple weeks of the session, capped off by the House Democrats walking off, killing SB 7. What's the nature of y'all's relationship right now? Are you guys good? Have you been talking privately, and how have those talks been going, if that's been the case?
Well, look, we have a good relationship. The point I made at the end of session was that all of the bills that died in the House, there were about 4 key bills. Taxpayer-funded lobbying, stopping big tech from censoring conservatives on social media. Of course, the big bill, Senate Bill 7 for election integrity and security. It's not voter suppression. It has nothing to do with that. The leftists characterized that. Those key bills and a few others never came up for a vote in the House because of deadlines. And all of those bills were passed by the Senate in mid-April. And so the calendar was not managed well in the House. We came across these deadlines, and we passed those bills out. And when you have those bills for almost 2 months, then the failure of those bills rests with you. And hopefully, and I feel confidently in the special session, when we pass those bills again, they'll pass the House. But it was just a matter of Democrats walking out, which they should not have done. That's not how democracy works. If you're losing a vote, you don't get to go home and quit. And that's what they did. But those bills should have been called up at least a week before they were, or several days, and there would have been no chance for the Democrats to walk out.
I know one of the biggest, if not the biggest priority this session was voter security. However, you even have, a former Trump Attorney General and William Barr, who's a very staunch Republican, saying there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud. So why spend so much time? I mean, you know how many hours were spent in debate, both in committee and on the floor for SB 7 specifically. Why spend so many hours? And also, couldn't those hours have been better spent, for example, on the power grid reform or even health care, given we are in a pandemic still?
Well, first of all, we passed Senate Bill 2 and 3 on power grid reform, so we got that done. But in terms of voter fraud, this bill was about reining in one county, Harris County in particular, that just created their own rules and their own laws about voting. We can't have one county in the state deciding we're going to have 24-hour voting. We're going to have drive-through voting. That's against the law. So we haven't peeled back anything. We've just clamped down on one county cannot go off on their own and create their own election system. Number 2, we haven't reduced anything. This is not voter suppression. In fact, we've increased, if the local districts want to do it, early voting by 2 hours a day. We still have 2 weeks of early voting, so we haven't rolled back anything. We want to be sure that we don't have voter fraud. And when anyone says, well, we don't have that much of it, how much is too much? We have elections that are won and lost by 50 or 100 votes. We still have, in Harris County, where they created 24-hour voting on their own and drive-in voting on their own. Again, that's against the law. They still haven't reconciled their books. They're about 1.5% off. That's a big percentage off of being able to match up how many actual people voted and who they voted for. So this bill has nothing to do with voter suppression. Here are the key elements. We keep our 2 weeks of early voting, and we've added hours. We're making sure that people who mail in ballots are who they say they are. We're making sure we have a paper trail so that we can go back to any machine and check it, which we don't have on all machines now. And we're making sure that people have an opportunity to vote. That's what this bill's about. Let me tell you something, Christian. I hope you'll put this in your clip, because no one else, I say this over and over, no one else repeats it. I was one of the authors of Photo Voter ID in 2011. And everyone said on the left the same thing. And the media, well, this is going to be voter suppression if you require an ID. Since 2011, when we passed that bill, our gubernatorial turnout is up over 75%. Our presidential turnout is up over 40%. And no state has increased voting more than Texas in the last 10 years. We're up over 40%. So it's easy to vote in Texas. All polling shows that people believe it's easy to vote, and all people want a secure ballot, and that's what Senate Bill 7 is about. There's no voter suppression, and everything you read in here is just bunk.
I want to switch gears now. I want to talk about permitless carry. Why this session? I know it's been something that's been floated around last couple sessions. Why this session, and why your, I guess, change of heart? I know in the last couple sessions you have been a little bit hesitant to move forward with it, but why this session and why your change of heart?
Once again, Christian, the media just reports it wrong, and whatever you're reading or hearing is just wrong. Bills move forward when they have support, and various bills take years to pass. It took me almost 6 years to pass the sonogram bill, which has saved about 20,000 babies' lives a year. Big issues take time. whether they're whatever the issue may be. So on Second Amendment, for example, I was one of the authors of Campus Carry. When I was a senator, I finally passed it as a lieutenant governor. The same thing with open carry. It finally had the votes to pass it. This session, it came together. And as the lieutenant governor, when the members are ready to vote on a bill, we move it forward. And so we moved it forward this session, and it's a model for the country. It's a model for the country. When you have the Sheriff's Association and the NRA and Gun Owners of America all praising the bill, that's a model for the country, and that's why it passed.
I have two more questions. I know we have limited time here, but I want to look at going ahead with the special session. Looking forward, what's the approach going into that special session? Have you been told when that may start? I know, obviously, the election bill is going to be a big thing for that special session. But I know you called, or before that, you called for 3 of those other bills. Have you been told that what might be on the agenda?
Well, I wouldn't share a private conversation I've had with the governor if it's a private conversation, but he will make the decision. It's his call to put the bills on the agenda. And the only bills that you can take up are what he puts on the call. I mean, other members can file whatever bill they want, but we'll only take up what he puts on the call. And I've asked for the bills that were killed. I don't want boys playing girls sports, and neither do almost all Texans are against that. I'd like to see that Senate Bill 29 that we passed that didn't pass in the House. Obviously, Senate Bill 7, election security, we're going to pass that same bill out one more time. We've already done it a couple of times this past session. We're also looking at the protection for free speech on social media, taxpayer-funded lobbying. There are a number of other bills that I've asked the governor to put on the call, and he'll make that decision, and he'll bring us back when he calls the date. We'll be ready to go in the Senate. Trust me. We've already passed all of these bills. The Senate will do its job one more time.
And last question, as one of the top leaders in the state, especially within your own party, where do you stand as far as your faith in Attorney General Ken Paxton still being able to do his job? And I ask that because, he is the top law enforcement official in the state and is, dealing with some legal issues. And on top of that, you do have fellow Republicans criticizing him. I know Senator John Cornyn has. Even if you go back and watch the Senate Committee on Finance hearing where he's defending his budget, you do have Republican senators really grilling him on some of the spending. Because you do have, as a result of that one lawsuit, he did have some top lawyers walk out. He has had to have gotten outside lawyers to help him with the antitrust case, for instance. So, as one of the top leaders, where do you stand as far as your faith behind him, and also considering George P. Bush just threw in his hat in the ring for the Attorney General race?
I'm not getting involved in that discussion. Let me just say this: Ken Paxton has had a remarkable record as Attorney General and been very effective. Whatever legal issues there are involved, I don't know about those issues, and I'll stand back and watch what is decided on those issues. But as Attorney General, he's had a remarkable run. And I'm not getting in the mix of politics between various Republicans running for another statewide office.